Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. We've got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day and another day of NBA playoffs comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. Got a little bit of a big day for us today. I have a 5-leg parlay for today's playoff games. There's only 2 games on, so I made a 5-leg parlay out of a 2-game slate, as well as a couple of single bets to go ahead and share with you guys as well. First and foremost, I hope you guys all had a fantastic Easter yesterday. I hope you guys ate a lot of great food, spent time with your loved ones and family. And if you didn't, that's okay. I hope you just had a great day overall. Like I said, we are coming off of a pretty rough day on Saturday. Let's go ahead and jump right into the recap here. And look, guys, this is one thing we pride ourselves on here at Guy Boston Sports. We don't run away from the losses. We were horrific on Saturday. 0-5 in our single bet category. Nice little reverse sweep there, or not so nice reverse sweep, I should say. And then our 4-leg parlay, we did hit 3 out of 4 legs. Unfortunately, Julius Randle, which a lot of people said that was a risky one, he sold on us our 4-leg parlay plus 22-23 odds over on FanDuel. Welcome to sports betting, guys. You have some great days, you have some terrible days, and Saturday was a terrible day. I'm not too concerned, though, because looking down below at our record, we are still up over 29 units profit on the season in both single bet and parlay categories. So we're still having a fantastic season. Yes, it was a rough day on Saturday, but you know, if you've been watching us for a while, we're going to bounce back. And there's no better today like today than to go ahead and bounce back. Like I said, guys, I have a massive 5-leg parlay. I wasn't betting on it. I wasn't depending on doing a parlay today of that size. At least I was going to do like a 2-leg parlay. But honestly, sometimes when you're doing the research and you're going through the bets, it just kind of clicks to you and you're like, hey, I want to do this today. So I couldn't eliminate any of these legs. I was like, you know what? Let's just go full send it. 5-leg parlay plus a couple of single bets. Tons of props to get to. Let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into today's picks. All right, guys, jumping right into the outlier screen. We're going to start off with the single bets and then advance on to the parlay. We're going to finish up with the 5-leg parlay, start off with the single bet player prop. So I'll make sure to specify when we are moving into the parlay portion of today's video. We only have 2 single bets in today's slate, and both of them are player props that I did take on Saturday, and I'm running them back today because although we missed them on Saturday, I know for a fact they're going to hit today. Not actually I know for a fact, but I'm very confident in the fact that I think they're going to hit today. And so for our first single bet, again, I took this on Saturday in the Pistons-Knicks game. We have Jalen Brunson over 2.5 3-pointers made. Now on Saturday, we got this for minus 104 odds on FanDuel. Now, because he missed it, we're getting better odds, plus 110 odds over on FanDuel and DraftKings right now. So we're taking the same player prop, but for better value this time around. And again, I really do like the possibility of it hitting today. Now, look, I talked about it in Saturday's video. The recent data and the overall data, it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. 48% hit rate on the year. 50% hit rate over his last 10 games, 60% over his last 5. Like I said, it's not going to knock your socks off, but it's not terrible either. From a head-to-head standpoint, though, it is a lot better. 6 of his last 8 matchups against the Detroit Pistons, he's cashed the over. That's a 75% hit rate, averaging 3.5 3-pointers made per game over their last 8 matchups. Now, on Saturday's game, I really thought we had this. He was 2 for 5 from 3 going into, I want to say, like the 10-minute mark of the fourth quarter. He had already hit 2 threes, and he finished the game with like 36 points. He had a pretty big scoring fourth quarter, but unfortunately just wasn't taking threes. That's kind of abnormal. Look down below at the head-to-head data here for their last 8 matchups. He only took 5 threes back in game 1, but look at the previous 7 matchups before that. He'd taken at least 7 3-pointers in each of the previous 7 matchups. So he's averaging 8.3 3-pointers attempted per game against Detroit, shooting 42% from 3 against the Pistons. So game 1 was a little bit different compared to the rest of the data range, and overall Detroit not a great team in terms of defensive allowed to 3-pointers. 20-30 against point guards, giving up 3.4 3-pointers made per game to opposing point guards. So I do think it's a good matchup. Again, the head-to-head data seems to suggest it's a pretty good player prop here. I'm only going to throw like half a unit on this one because, again, it is a 3-pointer player prop. I mentioned that in Saturday's video. I don't like to normally take these, but I do think there's some serious value here. I think the fact that he missed it in game 1 makes me a little bit more confident that he'll go ahead and hit this in game 2. Again, he hit 2 threes. We just needed him to hit 1 more. I think he's going to take, hopefully, more than 5 3-pointers attempted in this game. And again, Detroit versus point guards, they are bottom 10 in the NBA in terms of 3-pointers allowed. For plus 110 odds, I think it's pretty good value. That's our first single bet in today's slate. And for our second single bet, again, we're running this back a little bit different than the previous line on Saturday, but pretty much the same. On Saturday, we had Kawhi over 24.5 points. On today's video, we're doing him over 23.5 points. So Kawhi Leonard in the Clippers-Nuggets Game 2, 10 p.m. tip-off. Kawhi Leonard over 23.5 points, minus 132 odds over on FanDuel. Again, like I mentioned in Saturday's video, the overall data is not great. So a 37% hit rate this year for Kawhi Leonard. Now, granted, he's only played 38 games this season, but the recent data, last 10 games, 6 of his last 10, and Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs, his history in the postseason, you know Kawhi Leonard typically steps it up a notch in the playoffs. And he did play pretty well in Game 1. Again, he just missed it. He had 22 points in Game 1, so he didn't miss this mark by too much. He shot the ball well, but normally he takes more shots. I expect him to do more. James Harden kind of carried the load offensively in that Game 1. Again, I know this isn't usually how we do player props here on the channel. We really dive into the numbers and really break it down. The overall numbers aren't great. The recent numbers are pretty solid. He's averaging 26.1 points per game over his last 10. Even his last 20 games, averaging almost 26 points per game over his last 20 games, a 55% hit rate. Even when he's missing, he's still scoring consistently over 20 points a game. But Denver's defense overall this year, they are a bottom 6 defense in the NBA in terms of points allowed, especially versus small forwards, bottom 10. Power forwards a little bit better, but versus small forwards, bottom 10. Kawhi Leonard shot 60% from the floor in Game 1, was hitting his shots, playing very well. Ultimately, what happened is he just didn't take enough shots, in my opinion. He just only 15 shot attempts, which I get is still a lot. You know, you hit 9 out of 15, you should be able to come close to this over. He just doesn't take a bunch of threes. Look at the head-to-head data. One of his last 4 against the Nuggets, he's cashed the over. But again, he had 22 points in Game 1. He played almost 41 minutes, which is encouraging to me. It shows that he's going to play a healthy amount of minutes in all of these games as he's done in the previous matchups. And the game, again, Game 1, only 15 shot attempts. Again, he shot it very well, 60% from the floor. He literally takes 1 or 2 more shots and makes them. We're talking about a different thing here. We're talking about a cash on our hands. For 23.5 points, I still think Kawhi Leonard is going to have a massive series. I think the Clippers win tonight, too. On top of that, I thought they should have won in Game 1. Kind of a missed opportunity for them there. I think they're going to take advantage and win it here in Game 2. This Nuggets team, I'm just not sold on them right now. Kawhi Leonard over 23.5 points. It's our second and final single bet in today's video. All right, guys, with both of those single bets out of the way now, we now move on to the parlay portion of today's video. By the way, we just crossed the 7-minute mark in today's video. So comment 7 down below if you are still watching the video at this point. As always, guys, we appreciate those who watch through each and every single video, win or lose. We really do appreciate you guys. So comment 7 down below if you are still watching. So now we have our 5-leg parlay. We're using FanDuel for this parlay. And yes, we are using alternate lines. So for the first leg of our 5-leg parlay, we are targeting the Pistons-Knicks game, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We got Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks over 24.5 points, minus 250 over on FanDuel. Like I said, these are all going to be alternate lines, all using FanDuel. And look, guys, this being an alternate line, you know the data is going to be pretty solid. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 27 points per game over his last 10 games. Go ahead and stretch the data out the entire season view. Still pretty solid, a 53% hit rate on the year for Jalen Brunson, averaging 26.12 points per game this season. So like I said, across the board, really good numbers here for Brunson. But the number I really like to look at here is the head-to-head data, and it is super fantastic. I was going to say superfluous, but I don't think that really works there. So super fantastic, I guess is what we went with. 7 of his last 8 games, he's cashed the over. It's an 88% hit rate over their last 8 matchups, averaging 31.5 points per game over their last 8 meetings, including Game 1, where Brunson had a pretty solid game. I did say earlier he had 36 points. He had 34 points, not 36. But you see, when he typically plays Detroit, he doesn't have a good game. He has a great game, 31, 31, 36, 28 points on the lower side in terms of cashes, 35 and 42. The one miss he's had back on April 10th, he had just 15 points in that one. But this is the New York Knicks, and this is the playoffs. So you know they're going to play a healthy amount of minutes. He played 40 minutes in Game 1. You know how they do it. Tom Thibodeau, he loves to play these guys to the maximum. So you know he's going to play a lot of minutes. And from an overall standpoint, Detroit, they're a middle-of-the-road defensive team versus point guards. They are bottom 7 in the NBA in terms of points allowed to the point guard position. If you go down below here, the more recent matchups, again, Jalen Brunson, he had 34 points. You see, guys, I mean, these last couple of games, I don't really like to take into consideration. These are when the Knicks kind of punted on the rest of the year. Actually, most of these point guards are backup point guards, if we're being honest here. But, you know, it is what it is. A lot of these guys here, that's the problem with this data point. Like, sometimes it's great because it shows you the starters, but unfortunately, we see a lot of the bench guys in here. I'm not really too concerned how Jamari Bouye performed against Detroit. So, but the case in point being Detroit's defense versus point guards overall this year, and even from a recent standpoint, not all that great. Brunson obviously went off in game one. We just need him to get 25 points here to cash his leg of the parlay. We don't even need him to score over 30. And again, really solid head-to-head data, pretty solid overall data across the board. That's the first leg of our 5-leg parlay. All right, guys, our second leg of our 5-leg parlay, sticking with this same game. This time, though, we're going Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons over 7.5 assists. Again, minus 250 over on FanDuel using alternate lines for all of these legs. The data is actually a little bit better on this one than it was for the Brunson prop from an overall standpoint. Cade Cunningham, 7 of his last 10 games, he cashed the over, averaging 8.5 assists per game over his last 10 games. So far this season, a 69. You know we got to pause for the applause. 69% hit rate on the year for Cade Cunningham. 49 out of 71 games this year, including playoffs, he's cashed the over, averaging 9.15 assists per game this season. And so far from a head-to-head standpoint, he's cashed this in 5 of his last 7 matchups with the New York Knicks. That's a 71% hit rate over the last 7 meetings, averaging 8.71 assists per game against the New York Knicks across those last 7 meetings. Now, again, looking back at game 1, he had 12 assists in game 1. If you look at the potential assists, he had 20 potential assists in game 1. He finished with 12, so there was even more opportunity for him to put up even more numbers. Now, the big thing here is the minutes played. He played almost 40 minutes in game 1. This being the playoffs, you know he's going to play in the vicinity, as long as it's not a blowout, in the vicinity of 35 minutes a game, I would say. So you know he's going to play a lot of minutes. And looking at how game 1 went, the Knicks threw a lot at him defensively to try to prevent him from scoring. It presented him with a lot more assist opportunities. He had a lot of assists in game 1 for a reason. A lot of opportunities for a reason. The Knicks threw a lot at him defensively. Yes, it limits him as a scorer, but it gives him plenty of opportunities as a passer. If the Knicks play defense in a similar fashion in game 2, I expect to see a lot of assist opportunities here for Cade Cunningham. Although the Knicks do rank pretty well defensively, 6th in the NBA and it's allowed this year. Overall, they're top 10. I still think Cade Cunningham, the head-to-head data kind of speaks for itself. 3 times just this year. They played 5 times this year. 3 out of the 5 matchups this year, he's cashed the over. Some really big performances. Again, 15 assists back on December 7th and 12 assists in the last meeting back on Saturday. So I think it's a pretty good spot here for the second leg of our 5-leg parlay. All right, guys, for our third leg of our 5-leg parlay, we're sticking with the Knicks-Pistons game for one more leg here. We have Karl-Anthony Towns of the New York Knicks over 30.5 points plus rebounds. Again, minus 275 over on FanDuel. The data here is the best of any of the player props I've shown you so far today. 8 of his last 10 games, including 6 consecutive games, including game 1 of the playoffs. He's cashed the over. He's averaging 35.9 points plus rebounds per game over his last 10 games. Go ahead and stretch the data out a little further to the last 20 games. A 75% hit rate, 15 of his last 20 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 35.2 points plus rebounds per game over his last 20 games. And look at the season view, a 78% hit rate on the year. 57 out of 73 games, he's cashed the over, averaging a whopping 37.16 points plus rebounds per game overall this year. So really good numbers across the board here for Karl-Anthony Towns. And then from the head-to-head perspective, each of his last 5 matchups with the Detroit Pistons, he's cashed the over, averaging 34.4 points plus rebounds per game over those last 5 matchups, which does, of course, include game 1, where he had 23 points and 11 rebounds in that game. He's played Detroit 4 times this year. He's cashed the over in all 4 games. So really good numbers this year and really good numbers overall against the Pistons. Looking at game 1, he had 15 rebound chances, finished with 11. He's averaging 16.2 rebound chances per game against Detroit across those last 5 matchups. So good numbers there. And from a shot perspective, now he shot 10 for 14. You can't ask him to do much better, but he is averaging 17 shot attempts per game. So a decent number of shots. He's shooting about 53% from the floor when playing Detroit. I think overall, it's a really solid matchup. The Pistons versus centers this year, they're pretty solid. 13th in points, 3rd in rebounds allowed. So honestly, I'm a little shocked that he does this well against them. That being said, though, if we do look down below here at recent performances from a center against the Pistons defense, a lot of green here from good players. This isn't bench players. Domantas Sabonis cashed the over. Valanciunas, who I wouldn't necessarily say is a great center, but he cashed the over. Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey. You see Karl-Anthony Towns in there. That's a heavier line, excuse me. Again, remember, we're using an alternate line here. At the normal line, he'd missed it by a little bit there. But still, in our purposes here, he cashed his alternate line in that one and the last one too. So 2 of those X's there. We're using the alternate line. Karl-Anthony Towns actually cashed both of those. So recontextualizing that means all of these should be green. In the context of Karl-Anthony Towns, we're using his alternate line here. But the point being, We've had some really good performances from centers against the Pistons here, despite their overall rank on the year. I think for Karl-Anthony Towns at the alternate line of 30.5, I think you should definitely go ahead and cash this over. So that's the third leg of our 5-leg parlay. All right, guys, moving back on to the Clippers-Nuggets game, the fourth leg of our 5-leg parlay. I'm double dipping a little bit here. We're going Kawhi Leonard over 20.5 points. Now, obviously, for a single bet, I took him at 23.5. Now we're taking him for the parlay at 20.5, minus 270 over on FanDuel. And look, at 20.5, the data is obviously much better. 9 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 26.1 points per game over his last 10, including game 1. He had 22 points. He did cash this over back in game 1. Last 20 games, an 85% hit rate on the over, 17 of his last 20, averaging 25.5 points per game. So far this year, a 61% hit rate. You see the difference when you knock a few points off, literally 1 3-pointer less, from 23.5 to 20.5. Look how much better the data is. That's why alternate lines sometimes, especially when you're betting parlays, is really vital to go ahead and utilize. And from a head-to-head perspective, 2 of his last 4 matchups against the Nuggets, he's cashed the over again. A lot of these taking place last year, but so far this year, that being game 1 of the playoffs, he did go ahead and cash the over. So really good numbers across the board. And again, like we mentioned, Denver overall this year, bottom 10 team in the NBA in terms of points allowed versus small forwards. Like we said, bottom 10. Power forwards, they are definitely better. But still, I think Kawhi Leonard, the way that he's playing right now, and his history in the playoffs, he's very similar to Jimmy Butler, where these guys just flip a switch, and when it comes to playoff time, their intensity, their overall performance increases. He just missed the mark. Now, not this line, but the overall line. He missed the mark in game 1. I think he's going to have a really big game here in game 2, and maybe lead all teams in scoring, or at least lead the Clippers in scoring. But I'm expecting a really big game for Kawhi here in game 2. So that's our 4th leg of our 5-leg parlay. And last but not least, guys, our 5th leg of our 5-leg parlay, we're going Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets over 15.5 points, minus 280 over on FanDuel. And yeah, for minus 280 odds, you know the data is going to be really good. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 20.8 points per game over his last 10. Last 20 games, 85% hit rate, 17 of his last 20, averaging 22.4 points per game over his last 20 games. Overall this year, including playoffs, a 78% hit rate on this over. 53 out of 68 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 21.43 points per game overall this season. And from a head-to-head perspective, each of his last 6 matchups against the Clippers, including game 1, he's cashed the over, averaging 20.83 points per game against the Clippers across those last 6 matchups. Now, this line, honestly, even the alternate line is lower than it normally would be, in part due to the fact that Murray was coming off an injury going into the playoffs. So he wasn't 100% healthy going into the postseason. I think due to that, and also the Clippers' defensive numbers, which are pretty solid, I do think that the sportsbooks put his line a little bit lower. Even the alternate line here at 15.5, I know it's minus 280, but you'd think it'd be a little bit higher. I still think it's a really good spot here for Jamal Murray. He's the second best scoring option on this team. 16 points for him against the Clippers when he's done it in 6 straight games. 78% overall this year. 85% over his last 20. 82% last year, including playoffs. I just think for Jamal Murray, this is a really good spot. And you do know that with this being the playoffs, he's going to play a lot of minutes. He played almost 48 minutes in game 1. That's the beauty of the NBA playoffs. All of these guys are going to play maximum minutes unless there's the potential of a blowout, which obviously can still happen even when it's the playoffs and there are good teams playing each other. If the game gets out of hand early, they might pull him and rest him. But I think, as you saw from game 1, I think this series is going to be very close, very competitive. I think 16 points for Jamal Murray is very, very doable. That's the 5th and final leg of today's parlay. All right, guys, jumping over to FanDuel. Quick little run through of what we got here. We got Jalen Brunson over 24.5 points. Cade Cunningham over 7.5 assists. They could also categorize it as to score 25 plus points or to score or to record 8 plus assists, but you know what I mean here. Karl-Anthony Towns over 30.5 points plus rebounds. Kawhi Leonard over 20.5 points and Jamal Murray over 15.5 points. You parlay all 5 together, you get a parlay of plus 405 odds over on FanDuel. So some really good value there on that 5-leg parlay. Guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. We'll be back tomorrow with another NBA player prop video, but until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy game 2 of these NBA playoff games. Let's go ahead and make some money.